Welcome back to Coffee with the Authors. We interrupt our regular programming to bring you Storytime. This one's Storytime with Wendelin. This story involves rattlesnakes, fire, and an epiphany. And I hope that it serves as encouragement for writers and all creatives, actually. As with my Storytimes, I'm going to back up. It starts when I was a kid. My parents are immigrants to the United States. The cheapest vacation that we could go on was camping. A lot of people grew up that way. Camping was the vacation that we went on. We lived in a suburb of Los Angeles. You think of California as being, palm trees and seaside, but the majority of California is actually, or a big part of it is actually desert. And when you live in Los Angeles, the place that you go camping, especially when your dad did not enjoy the ocean, is you wind up going east. And east you will find Arizona and Nevada and Utah and desert. Also, California has desert. Anywhere you went, there was desert, and we would camp in the desert. Now, when you're a kid, you don't know any better. You just go, your parents take you. But I didn't really like camping in the desert. There were scorpions and rattlesnakes and all manner of beastly things, and it's, desert. My mom loved geology. She was fascinated by rocks. This is my mother. So she thought it would be fascinating to go camping at the Valley of Fire. This is an example of vacation time with the Van Draanens. I had two brothers, a dog, a sister, and my parents all piled into the predecessor to an SUV. No air conditioning, just sharp elbows. Yeah, so the Valley of Fire. Okay, the Valley of Fire, which in July, when, kids have vacation, gets to be 108 degrees. And my mom thought that it would be just lovely to go camping there. Las Vegas is an hour away. In Las Vegas, they have swimming pools, things kids really like. But no, we went camping in the desert. Fast forward to life after that life, and I was a teacher. And one of my colleagues made the very hard decision to send her child to wilderness therapy camp. Now, I had never heard of wilderness therapy camp, okay? I grew up camping. So I did not realize that the wilderness could be like an agent for change. So wilderness therapy camps are controversial. Some people think they're criminal, and other people think that they're wonderful. So putting that aside, when I asked her what that was, she explained it to me. And it basically, these kids get spirited away and they get taken to the Utah desert, where they are required to camp without their phone, without any contact. They have to learn to survive in the Utah desert. Well, she explained all this to me, and I said, wow, that sounds a lot like growing up Van Draanen to me. Because these are all these things these campers were required to do, we had done when we were kids. But there was one thing that we didn't have to do, and that was start a fire with friction. So my brothers and I used to have fire building contests where we would see who could start a fire with just one match. And we did go through this period of time where we tried to flint a spark and to get a fire started with a spark, but it's just way too much work. And even my parents would spring for matches. So I never had to do that before, but a requirement in wilderness therapy camp is that you build a fire, starting it with a coal that you make with friction. Long story short, I started writing this book called Wild Bird, about a girl who gets sent to wilderness therapy camp in the Utah desert. And I felt like I had a lot of research just from my experience in life about this. But there was one thing especially that I needed to feel, and that was starting a fire with friction. And these kids at these wilderness therapy camps, they have a bow drill that they use. Basically, it's a bowed piece of wood like a violin bow that has a cord that runs across it, and then it ties around a spindle that goes into a fireboard, just a board. And so you move the bow, and it twists the spindle, and it creates a coal that then the person starting the fire takes the coal and they put it into the waiting kindling and they start a fire. So the theory of it was great. The YouTube videos about it, well, okay, I got a sense for it, but I really needed to do it myself because you want to know what it feels like, what it smells like, what it sounds like, all those different senses. You want to be able to put them in your writing. And so Mark, being the optimist that he is, he brought a fire extinguisher out to the side of the house, and I went about my little project of starting a fire with friction. Only, to make a long story short, it was way harder than I thought it would be. And my little coals that I would generate from this friction that I created kept going out. And it became very frustrating and also very tiring. I had this little coal, and there were these little red sparks that were inside it. I know that you're supposed to blow on your fire to get it going. It needs oxygen. I know that. I've done it a lot. The thing went out. Okay, so I had to go back, start all over again. So I was blowing on it, and it was not starting. There was smoke, but there was no fire. And so Mark abandons his fire extinguisher because, yeah, who needs that? And he comes over and he lends his breath to mine, and we both blow, and it goes up in flames. From this experience, I had this epiphany that what my main character needed was a spark in her life, something that she felt passionate about, something that meant a lot to her, something that she wanted to do. All of us have something like that. And sometimes you can't do it yourself. Sometimes you need people around you who are willing to lend their oxygen to yours to make your spark ignite into a flame. And so I had my little epiphany about the story Wild Bird, and also about life in general. And I want you to know, well, first, make sure you surround yourself by people who are willing to be the oxygen to your spark. Also, remember to be the oxygen for people around you. Help them light their fire. And I want you to know that the reason that Mark and I are doing this channel is because we're hoping that it serves as oxygen to your creative spark, and it helps you keep going, and it helps you ignite. So there you go, story time with Wendelin. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, dream big, work hard, don't give up.